Nowadays, there are a lot of examples about how applying the technology could help to the governments. So these are real examples, okay, applicable examples that could bring a lot of value and benefits, okay, to the Nigerian governments.
Data management. President Tinubu welcomes support and partnership with global technology companies.
I use this opportunity to reassure Nigerian workers that this government would never take them for granted.
Please don't go on strike. Federal government pleads with organized labor as distribution of palliatives gathers momentum across the nation.
Nigerians must get value for their taxes, for their commitments that we must minimize the sufferings of Nigerians.
Ministers continue project tours, seek collaboration and strategy for effective service delivery. Hello and welcome to the Network News on NTA. I'm Naja'atu Tijani. Joining me from Lagos is Michael Olaleye. The Network News is also being streamed live on our website, nta.ng/live. You can watch the replay on our YouTube channel and follow all our social media handles displayed on the screen. We begin with data collection and management. President Bola Tinubu has expressed support for new partnerships with global technology companies to ensure that data from public institutions is accurate and transparent, in providing templates for proper public sector planning and accounting across sectors. President Tinubu, who received the Global Vice President of Oracle, Andres Garcia Arroyo, at the State House, welcomed the company's commitment to Nigeria's civil service reform process and data management sector, emphasizing the need for greater knowledge transfer through the establishment of academies and training institutions in the country. Aiming to promote ease of doing business, digital innovation, effective identity management, efficient payroll administration, and qualitative citizen-centered service delivery, the President cited Oracle's proven success in the automation of the Lagos State payroll system during his tenure as Lagos State Governor, commending the positive impact of technological solutions in enhancing accountability and expediting timelines for service delivery without sacrificing quality in the process. Expressing concern about Nigeria's bloated civil service payroll at the national and sub-national levels, the President identified the need for a tight technological control to check and balance all necessary control points of transaction processes and would work with Oracle because of the company's past record. The Global Vice President of Oracle proposed a comprehensive digital transformation of work process at the federal level of administration in order to achieve greater macroeconomic visibility, streamline government processes for cost and time savings, and provide skill development opportunities for Nigerians.
How applying the technology could help to the governments, but to go to common sense and to go to some specific examples, okay, we have seen, like, for example, nowadays we are capable to release accurate data, okay, to really review which are the budgets, okay, if already review which is the expenditure and the capacity of expenditure that the government continue has, okay, in real time, and go into a specific process. For example, let's go to the procurement one. So if we could be able to have the visibility about what is procuring the different entities, okay, we would be able to streamline and to save costs. So these are real examples, okay, applicable examples that could bring a lot of value and benefits, okay, to the Nigerian governments.
This Monday, President Bola Tinubu also had a meeting with defense ministers and the service chiefs. The Minister of Defense, Abubakar Badaru, and Minister of State, Bello Matawalli, led the service chiefs to the security meeting at the State House, which lasted less than an hour behind closed doors. Details of the meeting were not disclosed, but State House correspondent Musbau Wahab reports that this is the first meeting the President has had with service chiefs since their decoration. The federal government has advised the public and private sectors to safeguard information to avoid any action which could tarnish the reputation of government. Vice President Kashim Shettima gave the advice at the opening of a retreat and sensitization program for State House political aides on administrative procedures and governance. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
Forging a path to responsible governance, a call to political aides, the central message at this retreat. Vice President Kashim Shettima told the participants that their responsibility is not just about fulfilling their role, but it encompasses the aspirations of the nation and also extend far beyond the execution of tasks dictated by established administrative protocols.
From this very moment, you are bound by the laws of our land in all matters of official correspondence. These laws outline the consequences for both intentional and unintended mishandling of the information entrusted to your care. Should you falter in this duty, the consequences will ripple far beyond the intricate fabric of governance. They could erode public trust, jeopardize national security, and undermine the very integrity of our administration.
Stakeholders at the retreat also reminded the participants on the protocol that govern decision-making, resource allocation, and policy implementation. Safekeeping of sensitive information related to national security, policy strategies, and matters of paramount national significance were also discussed.
Not only that, we are here to also look at relationship with other tiers of government, National Assembly, as well as the judiciary.
The retreat also encourages the participants to avoid rivalry and develop a unique perspective for the development of civil service at the State House. Abdurrahman Jibrila, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Presidential Election Petition Court will on Wednesday, the 6th of this month, deliver its verdict on the 3 consolidated petitions challenging the declaration and return of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the winner of the February 25, 2023 presidential election. The Chief Registrar of the Court of Appeal, Umar Mohammed Bangari, confirmed the date in Abuja. The 3 consolidated petitions are the ones filed by the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), Abubakar Atiku, and his counterpart in the Labour Party, Peter Obi, as well as that of the Allied People's Movement (APM). Bangari hints that adequate security has been put in place and that only invited members of political parties and the general public would be allowed into the courtroom to avoid congestion and security breaches. The court also says live telecast of the verdict will be allowed. The federal government has commenced implementation of palliatives at the state and local government levels, while modalities to meet other organized labor demands are in place. The Minister of Labor and Employment, Simon Lalong, says the reminder has become imperative as he appeals to the Nigerian Labour Congress to suspend the planned nationwide strike. Joseph Otsen reports.
It is about 2 weeks after inauguration, but before studying all briefs at the ministry, a threat of national strike is staring the Minister of Labour and Employment, Simon Lalong, in the face.
In the next few weeks, we intend to address them holistically. Consequently, I use this opportunity to reassure Nigerian workers that this government would never take them for granted.
The minister wants NLC to stay action on the planned industrial action, given that government has commenced efforts to address hardship brought about by the removal of petroleum subsidy.
We recall that on the directive of Mr. President, the federal government dispatched trucks of rice and other grains to states for immediate distribution to most vulnerable citizens, approved the disbursement of 5 billion naira to the 36 states and FCT for purchase and distribution of more palliatives and further interventions. Earlier, Mr. President had directed the purchase of CNG-powered buses and implementation of the policy for the conversion of petrol cars to gas as a way of reducing the cost of energy for transportation. In the course of the coming weeks, additional measures will be announced.
Other issues brought forward by NLC including conflicts between the organized labor and government of Imo and Abia states, occupation of NURTW National Secretariat, demolition of structures in Abuja, and attacks on farmers in parts of the country. The minister says the current administration is ready to deploy healthy dialogue to resolve issues. In Abuja, Joseph Utsen, NTA News.
Still on the planned industrial action, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Simon Bag-Olalong, has met the leadership of the Trade Union Congress, TUC, over the impending strike. The meeting was behind closed doors at the Ministry of Labour and Employment. At the end of the meeting, the federal government and the TUC agreed on a 2-week deadline to address pending issues. The TUC is also to consult with the NAC for further action. The Nigerian Labour Congress, however, did not show up for the meeting.
Top of this demand was that the president has not pronounced anything relating to wage awards. Again, we also need to be pragmatic. This week, as we know, the president is outside the country and will be returning maybe sometime weekend or early next week. And that, Federal Executive Council meeting will be held next week where some presentations will be made. And that the most reasonable time for them to get back to us is 2 weeks.
In those issues that we discussed, there are some that are very urgent. There are others that will require a long span of time. And this was the basis of our discussion. And we all agreed to that there will be no strike between at this period.
On the security front, the Department of State Services says it has uncovered plans by some elements in parts of the country to stage violent protests to discredit the federal government and security agencies over sundry socio-economic matters. A statement by DSS spokesperson notes that intelligence reports indicate that the plotters include certain politicians who are desperately mobilizing unsuspecting student leaders, ethnic-based associations, youth and disgruntled groups for the planned action. In view of this development, university vice-chancellors and heads of tertiary institutions are advised to discourage their students from engaging in acts capable of derailing public peace. Parents and guardians are also enjoined to admonish their children and wards to shun the lure of participating in behaviors and conducts which are against law and order. General Brice Oligui Nguema has taken oath of office as Gabon's transitional president with the promise to preserve democracy in the country. Uche Ugochukwu reports that the ceremony took place at the presidential palace in Libreville.
De préserver les acquis de la démocratie, l'indépendance de la patrie.
General Brice Oligui Nguema, presented with decorations in front of a large crowd of dignitaries at the venue, swears an oath to hold referendum and constitutional election. General Nguema was the head of the elite Republican Guard who led officers in a military coup against President Ali Bongo Ondimba, moments after he was proclaimed winner in last month's presidential election. He is taking control for an unspecified period. The coup, which ended the Bongo family's 55-year dynasty, drew cheering crowds onto the streets of the capital, Libreville, but condemnation from abroad. Leaders of the Central African Regional Bloc last week urged partners led by the United Nations and the African Union to support a rapid return to constitutional order. 5 other countries in Africa, Mali, Guinea, Sudan, Burkina Faso and Niger, have undergone coups in the last 3 years. Their new rulers have resisted demands for a short timetable for returning to barracks. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
You're watching the network news on NTA. It's time for some messages. The news continues shortly. Stay tuned. Thanks for staying tuned. The federal government is set to collaborate with the family of late Pa Taiwo Akinkunmi, designer of the Nigerian flag, who died August 29th this year for a befitting burial. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Muhammad Idris Malagi, stated this when he paid a condolence visit to the family of the deceased in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. While he was there, the Minister of Information also called on the Governor, Sheyi Makinde. Ayomiku Ajibola reports.
Following the announcement of the death of Pa Taiwo Akikumi OFR, the man who designed Nigerian's flag, the nation has been thrown into mourning. This high-power federal government delegation, led by the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Muhammad Idris, were in Ibadan to condole with the family of the late icon.
No doubt he has been such a powerful and iconic symbol for our national unity and for our existence as a country. I also want to take this liberty to ask the youth of Nigeria to emulate what Pa Akinkunmi did for this country. When the national flag was designed, he was only in his 20s. By God's grace, he lived more than 60 years afterwards, and the flag is still flying.
Earlier, the minister had paid a courtesy visit on the state governor, who described the death of Pa Akinkunmi as the end of an era for creative national heroes and heroines of Oyo State extraction.
And the flag of Nigeria must always remind us of the need for unity and cohesion.
We all know that Mr. Akinkunmi is one of those who created this national treasure for us. And Mr. President is proud of this late gentleman who happens to come from Oyo State.
Among the entourage of the minister are top functionaries of the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, including heads of various federal government media agencies in Ibadan. Ayomiku Ajibola, NTA News.
The Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters at the Senate, Senator Abdullahi Gumel, says the executive and legislature are working hand in hand to ensure that pending ministerial slots are sorted immediately the National Assembly resumes plenary this month. In a statement, Senator Gumel indicates President Tinubu, since assumption of office in May, has focused on revitalizing the economy, leading to decisions like subsidy removal. The senator therefore urges organized labor to shelve its planned strike and continue engaging with government, adding that the federal government is already distributing palliatives while efforts are on to revive local refineries, including the Dangote refinery, which is expected to come up soon. The House of Representatives says it will ensure judicious utilization of the National Housing Fund for the provision of affordable housing for eligible workers interested in federal mortgage. The Chairman House Ad Hoc Committee investigating non-remittance to the National Housing Fund, that Chung Bagos, gave this assurance during an oversight visit to some housing projects in the nation's capital. National Assembly correspondent Mitaire Ikben reports.
Owning a house is an uphill struggle for the average Nigerian civil servant, despite making statutory contributions of 2.5% of basic salary monthly to the National Housing Fund. Investigating alleged non-remittance to the fund has led the House Ad Hoc Committee to pry further into utilization of the fund for affordable housing. In the nation's capital, the lawmakers inspected ongoing workers' housing scheme comprising 135 units at the Aviation Village and another project with 337 units in Life Camp. The lawmakers are, however, concerned about the absence of primary infrastructure such as access roads to the houses.
The developer has given an excuse because of heavy trucks coming in, so that the road is a last item to be done. But then we're keeping and taking them on the tax. In January, they should be able to conclude everything, let people occupy those houses.
We have the cooperative housing loan, which is a product of the bank. You can also go to any developer, and if you're interested in buying into his project, as long as the house price is within your affordability, of course you are entitled to take the loan.
The committee says its oversight visits of affordable housing for workers will extend to the 36 states of the Federation. Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
Still on infrastructure, the era of paying for quality road projects and getting less in return is over, as contractors must deliver to Nigerians value for their money. The words of the Minister of Works, David Umahi, while interacting with the media in Abuja. Abdullahi Mohammed tells us the context.
This interaction with the media is coming on the heels of assessment of ongoing constructions of highways in the southwest.
This is very important.
There, the minister emphasized the use of concrete in building our roads. Bringing on the table here is a call to contractors and other service providers to sit up.
My own is that Nigerians must get value for their taxes, for their commitments, that we must minimize the sufferings of Nigerians.
And for the doubting Thomases, the construction of a 4-hour journey highway from Lagos to Abuja, the minister says is not only a viable project, but realizable.
And it's taken off from the proposed Fort Mainland Bridge, and also, by the famous Shagamu Ore Road. Whereas that of the Fort Mainland Bridge is taken off from the famous Lagos Ibadan. So you see how they are interlinked.
The minister will be heading to the southeast in his assessment tour of ongoing projects. In Abuja, Abdullahi Mohammed, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has expressed displeasure over the state of ongoing affordable housing estate in Wasa district of Abuja. The minister expressed outrage when he visited the site during a project tour. Onose Yakubu has the details.
The Wasa affordable housing estate being constructed under the public-private partnership arrangement is meant to meet the housing needs of the residents. During the tour of the project site by the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, all did not go down well between the minister and the director, Satellite Towns Development Department, Olusegun Olusa, over the contract arrangement and the sum amounting to 85 billion naira.
Government cannot just cough out 85 billion naira and then the land is ours. We're providing all the infrastructures, and then you want to give it out to private developers who will now build and sell. I mean, we think that government must also participate.
Other project sites visited are the access road linking the body of benches in Jabi and the Kabusa Junction by Apple Mechanic Village, where the officials of the Development Control Department cleared all the contravening structures constituting nuisance. Nyesom Wike assures that the demolished area will be protected to avoid the rebirth of shanties in the area. The minister, however, disclosed that more project sites will be visited before any further commitment of funds to any project by the administration. Onose Yakubu, NTA News.
Military personnel who have been affected by insurgency one way or another will be included in the federal government's Social Safety Net program. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Betta Edu, gave this assurance when she paid a visit to the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa. Ruth Aguele reports.
Humanitarian crisis is encompassing and entails active collaboration from all sectors. As part of efforts to build partnership, protection and safety of humanitarian actors on field operations, and promote social inclusion for all, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation is visiting the Chief of Defense Staff to close all gaps and enhance capacity in the area of humanitarian interventions across the country.
We also want to expand our social register and our social database to accommodate military persons that have either been affected by war, injured, or even killed and left their families behind. And the poverty alleviation programs can be far-reaching to touch these lives.
For the Chief of Defense Staff, the visit is timely as he expressed readiness on his part to ensure vulnerable Nigerians are relieved from humanitarian crisis.
There is always a linkage between poverty and crime, acts of criminality. We believe once the ministry succeeds, it makes our job a lot better.
Beyond stemming the tide on insecurity, both parties are ready to build bridges geared towards reducing poverty across the country. In Abuja, Ruth Aguele, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Katsina State government has assured the people of effective and efficient distribution of the federal government's palliative aimed at cushioning the effect of fuel subsidy removal. The state governor, Dikko Umar, disclosed this while launching the distribution of 40,000 bags of rice across the state in Kankara, one of the insecurity-prone local government areas. Suleiman Kodoki reports.
The government last month announced 5 billion naira palliative to each of the 36 states and the FCT to cushion the effect of the removal of petrol subsidy. With the sum of 2 billion naira received by the Katsina State government, 40,000 bags of rice have been purchased for distribution to 6,652 polling units in 34 local government areas of the state.
This is not only our problem, although the government has tried
that they should do justice. Let it be shared equally.
We appreciate it. It is a good development.
Flagging off the distribution, the state governor Dikko Umar, represented by his deputy Farouk Lawal, applauded the foresight and determination of the federal government assuring equitable distribution. The deputy governor, who also doubled as the chairman, State Distribution Committee, explains that the state government, on its part, has put in place measures to complement efforts of the federal government.
You know, the initiative is not only on the transport sector alone. All other things will be done, particularly empowering the less privileged and then small and medium enterprise.
The Palliative Distribution Committee comprises religious leaders, political office holders, trade unions from the state, local governments and wards. In Katsina, Suleiman Kodogi, NTA News.
Now to the federal government water and sanitation program, which for 2 years has been making a positive impact on the lives of the people in Gombe State. Abbas Mekano tells us more.
Access to potable water and effective sanitation programs remains two important factors responsible for the improvement of health status of the citizenry in Gombe State. These are the two key areas taken care by the federal government's Sustainable Urban and Rural Water Supply and Hygiene, supported by the World Bank. The 6-year program is being implemented in some selected states of the Federation, including Gombe.
So far, so good. The program is spread for 6 years.
Already, a reasonable number of rehabilitation works have been funded by the project that includes provision of boreholes and construction of public toilets in schools and hospitals in Kwami, Akko and Kaltungo local government areas. The project is working in partnership with the State Water Board, Rural Water Supply Sanitation and Hygiene Services, as well as Environmental Sanitation and Protection Agency to improve services to the people.
We did about 19 boreholes. We have rehabilitated them. And this year we are going to do about 50 or 47.
Public sensitization campaign in all the 11 local government areas of Gombe State also formed part of activities of the project as it continues to execute more projects. In Gombe, Abbas Mekano, NTA News.
Now for news from the Center of Excellence, Lagos, with Michael as our guide. Good evening, Michael.
Thank you, Najatu. Critical to harnessing the gains inherent in the blue economy is the upgrading of ports and provision of infrastructure. Realizing this, the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Gboyega Oyetola, has taken the first step towards addressing the state of ports in Lagos, promising that urgent action to address challenges has started. Joe Popola reports.
He is the first minister to preside over the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, and top on his agenda is the each-free operation of the Lagos ports in Apapa and Tinkan Island. With maritime security pivotal to his vision, the control tower of the port, which has helped achieve drastic reduction in waiting time for vessels, is a major improvement the Minister Gboyega Oyetola will be eager to sustain. While operations at the APM terminals is a beehive with facilities in place for efficient port operations, Other terminals are experiencing a lull due to the challenge of infrastructure bedeviling operations. The minister says Nigeria will use the blue economy as a springboard for improving on its GDP, as the federal government is ready to put in necessary infrastructure to actualize this.
The infrastructure is almost collapsing from what I've seen. So it's a major rehabilitation that has to be carried out. Again, the dredging will have to continue.
The simulation facility and other critical terminals requiring facelift were in focus, with the tour also taking stock of the maritime assets.
We shall very soon commence the infrastructure renewal of our ports, including pursuing the rail to port project as part of our efforts to decongest our ports. It is very important that scanners must be introduced in most of the terminals.
The minister also stressed the importance of collaborating with relevant agencies to achieve its agenda, while charging key players to key into the vision of the new ministry. In Lagos, Joel Ukbola, NTA News.
Lagos residents will continue to enjoy 50% slash in fares when they patronize any of the state-run transport scheme, as long as the initiative cushions the effect of fuel subsidy removal on daily commuting across the state. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu disclosed this after flagging off the Blue Line commercial train service at the Marina station in Lagos. Musa Toliat completes the reports.
September 4, 2023 will go down in history as the day Lagos State government broke a 24-year-old jinx to actualize the Metro Line train service.
This is promise made, promise kept, right? We said that we're going to start by the end of last quarter, right? But we also wanted to coincide around our 100 days. So it's part of our 100-day celebration. The Red Line is going to be completed before the end of this year, by the grace of God.
Some students also joined the governor on the train ride.
I was in the train with the governor. The experience was wonderful. I should even say interesting, because this is my first time being on a train.
Interestingly, the level of acceptance of the Blue Line by residents is surging.
Lagosians will really turn up for this, because this is day one, of course, and we have crowd. We have over 1,002 people here.
It's a very smooth ride, and I think the fare is okay. The fare is very okay. We should just maintain it. That is it.
It is Wi-Fi incorporated, so it is lovely. We need more of this in Lagos.
I think it's very laudable project, because nobody ever believed it's going to come into reality.
Regulators of the Blue Line hint that maintenance for sustainability of the Metro Line has been taken care of.
There's a service level agreement that has been signed, talking about maintenance, talking about recruitment, talking about, timetabling for the rail system.
The Blue Line is starting commercial operations with 12 trips a day and would gradually scale up to 76 trips a day on regular schedule. In Lagos, Musa Tolian, NTA News.
Do not forget to follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on your screen for updates. Time for some messages. The news will be back shortly. Please stay.
We're joining Musa Abubakar live from our business desk for more business news.
Thank you, Naja. The Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Bosan Tijani, has told financial institutions, ministries, departments and agencies, as well as other data processors and controllers, that data protection is not just a matter of convenience, but a fundamental human right. He stated this and data should be a collective responsibility of data handlers to ensure security of citizens' data, as stipulated in the Data Protection Act 2023, even as more people embrace digital technology.
We're committed as a government to ensuring that every Nigerian can trust the digital platforms that they use, knowing that their personal data will not be misused or mishandled. To achieve this, however, we are taking proactive steps to strengthen our data protection framework. We're working with all stakeholders, including the National Assembly, towards the enactment and implementation of robust data protection laws, one that is aligned with international standards. These laws will hold organizations accountable for how they collect, process, but also store data.
Sensitize those in the private sector and the media, and to take them through the acts, what the rights of data subjects are, and what the obligations of data controllers and data processors are. Because if there's any breach, the CEO or even the minister will be held liable. Nigerian Data Protection Commission can issue fine to any organization.
Now, as the conversation on boosting Nigeria's foreign reserve to strengthen the Naira continues, economic watchers say textile and garment industry as part of manufacturing is one of the sectors government must prioritize to create employment and boost revenue.
Manufacturing, particularly textiles, if we have the right way, it will be able to quickly increase our external reserve. Because the issue is balance of export and import. And Nigeria seems to be a consuming nation. So what we should do is to be able to up our export so that it can balance our external reserve and therefore balance the Naira dollar situation. So definitely they have to look into what is the textiles, for instance, textiles and garment, that is a product for export in many countries. Many countries don't have crude oil, but countries like Bangladesh depend solely on their exports of textiles and garments. And there's nothing wrong in Nigeria having that, because we are spoiled by crude oil. And therefore nobody is putting any hard work against the groundnut pyramids, the cotton, and the palm oil and cocoa in those days. So now we have to turn ourselves to manufacturing, see what other countries are getting.
Capital market equities market closed bullish on the first weekday of trading on the Nigerian Stock Exchange as investors gained 411.55 billion naira. The all-share index climbed 1.11% to close at 68,279.14 basis point. A total of 845.6 million securities valued at 13 billion naira were traded in 11,934 deals. Equity capitalization increased to 37.3 trillion naira. The financial services industry dominated the activity chart with Regency Assurance PLC, Fidelity, and Zenith Bank. That concludes businesses. The news continues after the break.
We're still talking the economy. The National Assembly says it is using data from the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative's report to curb theft and revenue being lost in the extractive industries. This is to increase government revenue, support national development, and reduce poverty while increasing investment flows. Benny Adams was at the launch of the 2021 NTA Solid Minerals Industry Report, where this was announced. The report.
This contains payments made by 1,214 companies, amounting to a total of 193.59 billion naira, out of which 177.44 billion naira was paid to the Federation account. This, stakeholders say, is a drop in the ocean, considering the enormous revenue potential of the sector.
This report contains implementable measures to effectively curtail the nefarious activities of these saboteurs of our economy.
Courageous findings and recommendations that, in our view, will be very useful in shaping policies in the extractive sector.
Be assured that the federal government will carefully study these important reports and adopt it as a valuable working document for the government's overall reform program.
NTA says it is set to commission special independent reports on the utilization of 13% derivation and the impact on benefiting states, in addition to the quantity of petrol consumption in Nigeria. In Abuja, Benny Adams, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency, NEMSA, is assuring electricity consumers that upgrade of prepaid meters and recharging by means of token will not lead to loss of units. The Managing Director, NEMSA, and Chief Electrical Inspector of the Federation, Aliu Tukur Tahir, urges electricity consumers to have no fear, emphasizing that the token identifier will generate a code to rule out duplication and keep top-ups safe. NEMSA is also assuring the public that token use will not affect the meters negatively, neither will it drain the units. Therefore, there is no need to panic. Meter manufacturers will, however, be required to change their production processes to comply with the new token hardware method. Nigeria para-table tennis players warm up for Paris 2024 Paralympics. Details with Austin Edemodu on Sports Update. Sports Update concludes the news, but before we go, do keep a date with NTA tomorrow, Tuesday, 5th September, from 10 a.m. to noon for a special broadcast on 100 days of the Tinubu administration, tagged Renewed Hope, Bold Steps in 100 Days. Thanks for staying tuned. Keep a date with us tomorrow.